wouldn't have been able to do that today. Today, if I get down on my knees for half that time, I would need help getting back up. But, all right, well, to work. It's time, so we're on. Okay. Last class I was talking about Kant's response to David Hume. Just to reiterate, this is Groke helping me here, and I think it gives me some pretty good notes. His main idea, I'll just read it. Heck, knowledge derives solely from sensory impressions, and their fainter copies are ideas. Hume denies innate ideas, arguing that complex concepts, he mentions causality, which we went over, and God are mental constructs from sensory experience. There's a whole bunch of other ones too. Skepticism, Hume's problem of induction, questions the rational basis for assuming the future resembles the past. And causality is a habit of mind, not a necessary connection. And the self is a bundle of perceptions, not a substance. This radical skepticism challenges certainty in science and metaphysics. And so Kant's response, and that's a silly question. Did Kant answer Hume? Because Hume didn't actually ask him a question, and Kant didn't actually reply to him specifically. But of course, the issue is, does Kant actually give us good grounds for saying metaphysics is still possible? And his core idea, knowledge arises from sensory experience processed by the mind's a priori structures. So remember that the question with David Hume was, we can't have a synthetic a priori. We can't have something that structures how we're going to perceive something before we've perceived it. You have to perceive it first. What Kant is actually going to argue, and Kant will refer to this as his Copernican revolution. He actually says that. He calls this a Copernican revolution in thought. And I think actually he's going backwards, because if you remember, Copernicus basically said that the sun is the center instead of the earth. And if you think of that, that means that we're not the center. It's the sun is the center. And by saying what he does, he's saying we're the center, not the objects, right? So in a sense, it's not really a Copernican revolution, but hey, that's Kant. Let him have his day. You know? So that's cool. And it's the mind actively organizes experience, making knowledge possible, but limited to phenomena. So all we can perceive is phenomena, things as they appear, not noumena, which are the things in themselves. And so Hume's skepticism about causality awakened Kant. We can actually find him saying that. To propose that causality is a necessary mental category, not a mere habit. And this synthetic a priori knowledge bridges empiricism and rationalism. So for Kant, the synthetic a priori are the things that structure the mind's perception of phenomena. This, by the way, is why I ask, how does Kant's philosophy lead towards modern psychology? If you think about it, the different types of psychology that begin, which ones do you want to talk about? Freud, we can talk about Freud. Freud is basically going to say that as a child growing up, certain experiences will basically cause us to have a lifetime of reactions based on those experiences. But also we go through stages, and the stages of development, I guess everyone's familiar with. Yes, no, maybe. Do they even do Freud anymore? Used to be, probably just at least for historical purposes. Historical?
In my lifespan development class, we talked about him for a little bit, but we touched on how he's really controversial and how he...
Well, yes, he was, because he was very male-oriented and very atheistic. anti-religion. His father was apparently abusive, and as a result, he had all these experiences himself that basically comes out in his anger, really, in a philosophy or a psychology that talks about this. But he also talks about stages that are somewhat, based on experience. So you get the anal stage, I guess, is the first one, right? Because the infant shits, and we all know what shit tastes like. I suppose. My own experience raising kids was I think hilarious, because I had 4 siblings. My wife had 1 brother, but in any case, the first child we got, Billy, was 4 weeks old when we brought him home. And my wife, I thought, she's a woman, she automatically knows how to take care of these things, right? Turns out to be false. Women actually have to learn how to take care of children. It's not intuitive for some reason. At least with my wife, it wasn't. So in any case, we had this 4-week-old infant, and at one point he got poo in his mouth. And my wife was like absolutely out of her mind. We had to call the doctor. She was afraid that the poo was going to poison him somehow. So we called the doctor, and the doctor was like trying to calm her down, and I could tell this is not an issue. She was in tears holding the baby, thinking she'd already killed it, just got it. And he explained it's probably going to be all right. And so she got over it, and as a matter of fact, the baby was fine. He's a civil engineer today, plus an artist. 45 now. So he survived. The second child had its first experience eating poo, and she was okay with it. She figured, okay, the first one survived, this one will be okay too. It was still kind of horrible for her, but the third child, kind of the same as the second one. When the fourth child, we opened the bedroom door that morning, and the fourth child was standing there with glee in the crib with shit all over the place. In fact, there was a sock stuck to the wall, and clearly she had tasted it herself. My wife went and got the camera and came and took pictures laughing at what this child had done. So you can see we evolved through those experiences, yeah.
When I was in high school, I was on a dog walk with my mom. We had 3 dogs. We had a Husky Shepherd mix, a Standard Poodle, and we had just gotten this Shih Tzu dog, real small dog. And we're walking along, and this Husky Shepherd mix that we have was a big dog, and she kind of pulls over on the trail and squats over and starts shitting. And our Shih Tzu, very small, is like looking at the ground and kind of walking along, and unbeknownst to her, walks underneath Mowgli's asshole while she's shitting, and gets kind of a shit shower on her, and she falls over, and I am dying laughing. My mom and I are laughing really, really hard, and Leah was the name of the Shih Tzu, gets up, walks directly in front of me. I'm still laughing. What do you think dogs do when they get covered in shit? Yeah, they shake. And I slow motion watch this large fleck of shit fly from that dog and land directly on my tongue. And and my mom is now like about to piss her pants laughing.
How old were you at the time?
I was probably a teenager, probably in high school somewhere, and I ran frantically through the woods to a creek that was kind of maybe a couple hundred feet away, and dunked my whole head in the water and wash the dog shit out of my mouth and everything, So you are correct. I have also eaten shit.
Well, I was thinking,
literally, not figuratively.
I was thinking our own actually, we, as infants, we discover, hey, what's all this interesting stuff? And at that age, we usually, actually, it's the oral stage. That's the first stage, isn't it? The oral stage is first. We put everything in the mouth. Then the anal stage, and then now this is where Freud is really weird. He thinks the next stage we go through is the penile, the sex organ, phallic stage. Thanks. I should have looked this up before the phallic stage, which of course is difficult for women, and so he actually comes up with this idea that women having no penis are subject to penis envy.
He's crazy.
I don't think they teach that
there's
anymore,
context in this
right?
context.
That's not a real stage, is it? It's a lack of a stage. I don't know.
I would say there's a control thing in there, but I don't know about envy.
But the main thing about Freud is he's trying to establish how these categorical structures that are in our mind are constructed. Where do they come from? And so that's the basis for Freud's attempt to establish that. I mean, there's others. There's, of course, Carl Jung. Carl Jung was a follower for a while of Freud, even though he wasn't younger. He was a little older, right? So he wasn't younger. Carl Jung. That could have been funny if I did it right. But in any case, Carl Jung really gets, oh my goodness, he gets into all kinds of images. Let me just type images and see if I get all kinds of, I didn't want, of course I'm getting him. What I wanted was, let's try categorical and mythological. Maybe that will help. So what he does is he looks culturally at a whole, encyclopedic type study of cultural images, and discovers that all the cultures in the world have these similarities. Different images have an impact on us biologically, he's convinced. And so these are significant, and that comes out in our art, and it comes out in our poetry, it comes out in our literature, etc. And these images, in a sense, structure our experiences of life and all kinds of. It's fascinating stuff, and not wrong. So studying Carl Jung, actually, I think is much more worthwhile today than studying Freud. Although Freud is kind of fascinating because of the historical impact that he had. So that's kind of interesting. You get logotherapy, which the main person associated with that is Viktor Frankl. I guess you've heard of him, and what he means by that really is meaning. We need meaning in our lives. If we don't have meaning, wow, we feel totally lost. And where do you get meaning from? So that's the way he tries to structure it. But if we go to Kant himself and see what he initially gives us, we get I spell categories right. We got a whole bunch of different approaches to. Let me go to this. This looks closer to the way he actually arranges them in his own text. So there's I guess I should talk about where he has come from, because he has all right. So remember, he's influenced by David Hume late in life, and as a result, remember David Hume dies in 1776. Kant is born in 1724 and dies in 1804 at the right age of about 80. I think he might have just been a little. It depends on the month. February is when he dies. I don't think they know when he was born. But in any case, it's not until he reads David Hume that he realizes there's a problem with metaphysics, and he tries to answer this. And the first